Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official spoiler roundup for NCIS season 13. I know I say this all the time, but that's insane. That this show has been on the air for 13 years and is still doing so well. I think that's insane. Like, I know a lot of people that haven't even been on the planet for 13 years yet. I know some of you haven't even been on the planet for 13 years yet, which is mildly terrifying. But I love you deeply anyway. Season 13, let's go. So let's start with the season 13 trailer. So the only one I've been able to find so far has been 30 seconds long, and I've checked multiple YouTube ones and multiple websites for it, and I've only been able to find the TV spot, and I could have sworn in years past that there's been a longer one. And maybe I'm just not finding the right video or I'm remembering incorrectly, but I kind of distinctly remember, at least for season 11, there was a much longer one. But the episode airs in 2 weeks. I have roughly 15 minutes left on this memory card, so you know what? We're just gonna go with what we got. So it starts out with the evil techno child shooting at Gibbs, who is disturbingly calm and serene. So then McGee gets a call and is like, so Gibbs is shot, and then DiNozzo, poor DiNozzo, he's always the one there when something goes horrifically wrong. But he's with Gibbs and he's like, bossy there. And then John Cryer steps in to get things done. So then Gibbs is in purgatory NCIS, I guess. He's staring at this wall of pictures. I don't really know what the theme of this wall is. I can't say it's loved ones because Aries there, and unless there's something we really missed. I don't think that's true. And I can't say it's people who died because there's a picture of carnival swings. So unless Gibbs lived through some tragic carnival accident, I don't think that's it. So I guess it's Gibbs's wall of important people, like Tony's fishbowl of important women. Gibbs is looking at that intensely, and then we meet the 5th reincarnation of Kelly that we've seen in this series, and she tries to guide him off into the white light. Kelly's really trying to end him this time around. She's we've been through this one too many times. And then one of the nurses is we're losing him, and John Cryer is wanna dance, Gibbs? I'll lead, which is a weird Berlin parallel I didn't need. Also, the number one thing I want my surgeon to be doing while I'm on the operating table is making puns. That's also me as a surgeon. I might not have the talent or the brains to be a surgeon, but my God, do I have the inappropriately timed humor. So then they're fixing Gibbs, everything's falling apart, there's a lot of running, Agent Teague and Tony are there, and they're in Shanghai. A lot's happening, Abby's distraught, everyone's a mess. Season premiere! Photos! So there's a set of 9 photos for the premiere. And this episode is called Stop the Bleeding, which is, it's not incorrect. It's a good goal, but it's also the most weirdly aggressive title I think we've ever had. And the first picture is of John Cryer, and he's going like this, but it looks like he's just chucking a deuce see ya. John Cryer is the surgeon, Tony, and Gibbs, all in the operating room, bringing a whole new meeting to 2.5 men. And Teague's there too. I guess she's gonna be the one to put him in their place. And then there's another picture, I think it's the one they originally released when they said that John Cryer was gonna be in this new season, which they've been making a huge deal about. It's of Gibbs's shattered knee, looks like a broken glass window. There's ones of Vance supervising something, but looking deeply concerned, as always. So now let's just talk about the hodgepodge. All of the spoilers that have come from all different places since mid-July. Some of the main ones is the importance of John Cryer, which they've been stressing a lot. I can see him being a big part in the first 2 or 3 episodes, but I don't know how the surgeon will have such a big part. But I don't doubt it. I'm not seeing it as clearly as they're implying. Or maybe I'm just reading far too into this. So they've been really advertising this as the season of change, which is extremely horrifying to me because God knows how well I do with change. When a series is running as long as NCIS, change is so inevitable, and I think season 13 is a good time for some pretty hefty changes. One of the big advertisements, if you will, of this is that there's going to be a lot of friction between Tony and Gibbs. Gibbs kind of has to step back and look at this moment in his life and realize, you know what? I'm actually not immortal. So then Tony has to step up and be team leader, head honcho. And apparently it's a lot of headbutting, which I can imagine. It's this major change. And Gibbs is apparently like looking back on his life and looking at DiNozzo and saying, do you want this life? Or do you want like a family? What do you really want? Because look at me and look at you. This is kind of the time to make a change, which I think is a great storyline. I've been hoping forever that someone would finally bring up these parallels between McGee and Gibbs, DiNozzo and Gibbs, everyone in Gibbs basically, but particularly DiNozzo or McGee and Gibbs. And it's being brought up at least a little bit with DiNozzo. I'm so looking forward to this because it's really good to see DiNozzo finally evaluate his life with everything that's happened from the time he was a child up through his tumultuous love life and all of the mistakes he's made as a past team leader and being able to move forward from that and all of the good things he's done and like serious Tony that's evolved and still keeping jokester Tony. I'm so excited for this season as far as Tony and Gibbs goes. You know, we got past present Tony, but I'm really looking forward to see how future Tony deals with future Tony. I'm also kind of nervous about this character evolution, but like mainly excited. We get to see Bishop work through marital problems. That's depressing. It's like she walked onto the show and they're like, you were a little too happy when you came here. We need to screw something up. I know I tear Bishop to shreds, but I really don't want her to be unhappy. I don't want to see her suffer. I got sad thinking about this. I guess it's good to see her in a more adult-like. She's really presented at this childlike level so often. Not as far as Abby, but definitely not as adult as her predecessors. And I think it'll bring out some new traits that we haven't seen before. Positive Bishop character development is something that I will not ever turn down. Gibbs isn't dead. Thank God we can finally put that question to rest. I mean, I don't think he's dead if he's walking around and going to rehab, unless this is like a really detailed purgatory. And I think someone posted a video from their window in Los Angeles of Gibbs and Tony walking around, so I think he's safe. And because we can't possibly imagine going into a season without knowing what Gibbs is doing and who Tony's screwing, love interests. As always, one of the questions on the interviews that just came out was, what can we expect from Tony's love life this season? And apparently, it's not all sunflowers and daisies and rainbows, or however they phrased it. And I'm assuming this has to do with all the change and Gibbs really forcing Tony to look at his life and Tony really forcing Tony to look at his life. But it's supposed to get more serious, and apparently Tony has some big serious moment coming up in his love life, and I swear to God, if he proposes, I might throw myself into a shredder. I mean, I'll be happy for him while I'm picking up my shredded remains. If he's happy, I'll be happy, but the offer still stands. I just think that would be really fast for Tony, and I know he's evolved, but even in like life, that's really fast. They've been dating not even a year as of right now. I mean, Zoe's great, but is it really worth just racing off to the church to get hitched? Maybe they'll move in together. Have they done that yet? I don't think so. Maybe they'll like get a dog or something together, like take it slow. Finally, guest stars. There was an article released on a couple websites saying that there will be guest stars that will blow the fans' minds, or like melt our faces off or something. I think they talked about avid fans, which, diction choices. You know your mind is going to a certain place, and I get that. So did mine, and so did these websites, because they're heavily advertising it. But I think the fact that they said avid fans makes me think it's someone smaller than who other people might be thinking it is. I'm not saying it's impossible, because anything can happen, and it's not that I don't want it to happen, because Do I think it's a guaranteed? No. Am I still excited about these guest stars? Definitely. Guess what? Mike Franks is back. Again. This man deserves his own spot in the opening credits. We have seen Carcass Mike Franks. Mike Franks is back. I'm glad. Gibbs lives. I'm excited for season 13. I'm a broken record at this point. I'm excited. I think I have high hopes for this season. I think it has great potential, especially with all the changes they're supposedly making, or I'm assuming they're making, based on some of the spoilers released. I think this season has really great potential to be an amazing season. And you know what? The most important spoiler of all, NCIS Season 13 premieres September 22nd at 8/7 Central on CBS. Be there or be square. Or be Mike Franks and come back from the dead. Again.